Every morning is like a fresh page in the book of our life. But the question is, how do we write on it? Some people start their mornings with stress, running behind time, drowning in hurry and anxiety. And some begin their mornings with stillness, with gratitude, with a connection to the divine. And those are the ones who shape their day, their destiny, and their inner peace. My friends, I want you to imagine this. If you dedicate just 20 minutes every morning to yourself, to your soul, and to God's presence within you, your entire day transforms. You don't just survive the day, you rise above it. You don't just face challenges, you master them. Because a legendary morning doesn't happen by accident, it happens by intention. Today, I want to share with you how to use those sacred 20 minutes to design a legendary life, one morning at a time. The very first breath we take in the morning is not something we manufactured, it is a gift. No matter how much we plan, how much we achieve, how many tasks we line up for tomorrow, none of them would be possible if that one act of waking up wasn't granted to us. That is why the most powerful way to begin the morning is with gratitude to God. Gratitude is not just a polite thank you. It is a recognition of the invisible force that sustains us. Think about it. While we sleep, our hearts continue to beat, our lungs continue to breathe, and our body continues to function. Who manages that? Not us. There is something far greater, far more compassionate, far more intelligent than our human effort that keeps us alive. The moment we wake up and remember this truth, we begin the day with humility and strength together. So many people start their mornings with complaints. I didn't sleep enough. Why have so much to do? Why is life so hard? And before even stepping out of bed, they have filled their mind with heaviness. But when you replace complaint with gratitude, your mind shifts into a different frequency. Instead of saying, I didn't get enough sleep, imagine saying, I am grateful that I have another chance to live this day. Instead of saying, I have so much to do, say, I am grateful that my life is full of opportunities to serve, to grow, to contribute. Gratitude is like sunlight. It doesn't remove the shadows, but it makes them less threatening. It doesn't erase the challenges, but it gives you the warmth and energy to face them. One of the greatest truths about gratitude is that it doesn't depend on everything being perfect. In fact, some of the most grateful people in the world are those who have the least. I once met a man who worked as a simple tea vendor. His clothes were old, his earnings were just enough to feed his family, but his smile was radiant. I asked him, how do you remain so joyful when life is so hard? He replied, because every morning when I wake up, I thank God that I am alive. As long as I am alive, I have hope. And as long as I have hope, I can work, I can serve, I can love. That single perspective made his entire life glow with contentment. Gratitude gave him wealth no money could buy. Many of us live in houses filled with comforts, yet our minds remain restless because we have trained ourselves to look at what is missing rather than what is present. Gratitude trains the eyes to see differently. You wake up, and instead of noticing the problems waiting for you, you notice the blessings already surrounding you. The roof over your head, the food in your kitchen, the family or friends in your life, the ability to walk, to breathe, to think. These are miracles we ignore daily because they seem ordinary. But nothing about them is ordinary. If you visit a hospital in the morning, you will see people who would give everything just to breathe without pain, just to walk a few steps without support, just to wake up without suffering. And here we are, waking up freely, yet forgetting to be grateful. Gratitude is a reminder not to take life for granted. Psychologists say that starting the morning with gratitude rewires the brain. Spiritually, it does something even deeper. It aligns us with God. It is like tuning a musical instrument. If you don't tune it, the whole performance is off key. Gratitude is the tuning of the soul in the morning. When you say, "Thank you, God, for giving me this day," your mind begins to play a melody of positivity, your heart beats with calmness, and your actions flow with grace. Let us take a simple example. Imagine two people waking up on the same day. One begins by grabbing his phone, scrolling through messages, checking social media, and comparing his life with others. By the time he is out of bed, he already feels inferior, anxious, and behind. The other wakes up, sits quietly for a moment, and says, "Thank you, God, for this breath, this life, this chance to serve." He looks out the window, notices the morning sky, and feels blessed. By the time he is out of bed, he carries a calm, centered energy. Who do you think will face the day with more strength? Gratitude doesn't change the outer world immediately, but it changes the inner world, and that inner world decides how you experience everything outside. Gratitude is also the best protection against ego. When we think everything is happening because of our own ability, we become arrogant. But when we start the morning acknowledging that God is the source, we remain grounded. We stop asking, "Why me?" when difficulties come and start saying, "What is this teaching me?" We stop demanding life to go our way and start trusting the wisdom of the divine way. Gratitude melts resistance and brings acceptance, and from acceptance comes peace. My friends, think of your first 3 minutes in the morning as sacred. Before you touch your phone, before you dive into work, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and whisper, "Thank you, God." Say thank you for your life, for the people you love, for the body you live in, for the challenges that make you stronger, and for the opportunities that shape you. Say thank you not only for what is pleasant, but also for what is difficult, because both carry hidden gifts. If you make gratitude the opening note of your morning, the entire symphony of your day will play in harmony. So remember this: every morning is not just another morning, it is a blessing wrapped in time. And when you open it with gratitude, you discover the true richness of life. Gratitude to God is not about having everything. It is about recognizing that everything you already have is enough to begin with. And from that space, life becomes a little lighter, a little brighter, and a lot more legendary. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of depth. When we wake up, the world immediately begins to pull us in 100 directions. Calls, notifications, emails, responsibilities. Before we know it, we are swept away by the current of the day without ever anchoring ourselves. That is why silence in the morning is so sacred. It is like standing at the shore of a vast ocean before the waves become wild. In that stillness, we find our connection to God, to ourselves, and to the deeper truths that get drowned in the noise of daily life. When we sit in silence, even for a few minutes, something remarkable happens. The mind that is usually restless begins to slow down. Thoughts are like dust in the air, constantly floating, constantly distracting. But when we pause in silence, the dust begins to settle, and suddenly we can see more clearly. Silence allows us to hear what is always present, but rarely noticed. The gentle whisper of the divine, the quiet guidance of our own conscience, the peace that does not depend on circumstances. Think about how we charge our phones every day. No matter how powerful the phone is, if it is not recharged, it becomes useless. In the same way, our soul needs recharging. Silence is the charger. If we skip it, we may still function, but we will function at half our energy, half our clarity, half our patience. But when we give ourselves those minutes of silence, we step into the day with a full battery, ready to face challenges with balance. Many people think silence is boring or empty. But silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is like the space between notes in music. Without that space, the melody becomes noise. Silence gives rhythm and beauty to life. It gives us a chance to step back from constant doing and reconnect with simply being. We often define ourselves by what we do, but in silence we remember who we are, a soul, a child of God, a being of peace. That remembrance is what gives our actions depth and meaning. Let me share a simple example. Imagine two people again. One wakes up and immediately dives into emails, work messages, and rushing through tasks. His day feels like an endless chase, and by the afternoon, he is already exhausted. Another wakes up, sits quietly for 10 minutes, closes his eyes, and breathes in silence. He allows thoughts to come and go without holding on. He remembers God's presence within, and he settles his mind. Then he begins his tasks. His challenges are the same, but his response is calmer, his focus is sharper, and his energy lasts longer. The only difference is silence. Great leaders, saints, and thinkers throughout history valued silence. Why? Because silence gives birth to wisdom. Noise keeps us at the surface, but silence takes us to the depth. In silence, new ideas are born, inner strength is renewed, and perspective widens. Even in relationships, silence plays a powerful role. Have you noticed how comfortable it feels to sit in silence with someone you truly love? That silence is not awkward. It is full of connection. The same happens when we sit in silence with God. We don't always need to speak. Sometimes just being present in stillness is the deepest form of prayer. We often underestimate how much the quality of our inner world shapes our outer experience. If you start the day with a restless mind, you carry that restlessness into every interaction. But if you start with silence, you carry peace into every interaction. Silence is contagious. People feel it. Just as tension spreads, peace also spreads. If you walk into a room full of noise, your silence can calm it. That is the power of a mind centered in quietude. Some people say, I don't have time for silence in the morning. But silence doesn't require hours. It requires intention. Even 5 minutes of pure silence can be enough to transform your state of mind. It's not about the length of time, it's about the quality of presence. If you can give yourself even a small pocket of stillness before the world claims you, you will notice the difference. Silence is also where we can listen to our inner compass. Every day we face choices, and many times we are confused about what is right. In silence, answers become clearer. Not always in words, but in a sense of direction, a feeling of peace when we think of one path and unease when we think of another. That is God's way of guiding us through silence. The world outside is loud, but the voice of truth is quiet. If we don't create space for silence, we miss that voice. Imagine your mind as a lake. When the surface is disturbed by wind, you cannot see the reflection of the sky. But when the water is still, the sky reflects beautifully. In the same way, when the mind is restless, we cannot see truth. But when the mind is still in silence, the reflection of God's wisdom appears clearly within us. That is why silence is not a luxury, it is a necessity. My friends, the storm of the day is inevitable. Challenges will come, demands will press on us, people will test our patience. But before that storm begins, if we spend even a short while in silence, we carry an umbrella of peace wherever we go. Silence in the morning is like anchoring a boat before the waves crash in. Without the anchor, the boat is tossed endlessly. With the anchor, the boat may sway, but it will not drift away. So let us remind ourselves silence is not wasted time, it is invested time. Silence is where the soul breathes, where God whispers, where strength is born. When you sit quietly at the start of the day, you are not doing nothing. You are preparing for everything. And those who prepare in silence walk through the noise of life with unshakable calmness. That calmness, my friends, is what makes a morning truly legendary. What we feed our mind in the morning shapes the flavor of our entire day. Just as the body needs nourishment to function, the mind too requires the right diet to stay focused, calm, and inspired. Unfortunately, most people begin their mornings feeding the mind with fear, comparison, and negativity. The very first thing many do is scroll through news filled with tragedies, gossip on social media, or endless messages demanding attention. And by the time they step into the world, their mind is already tired, restless, and distracted. But when you consciously choose to feed your mind with wisdom, you fill yourself with strength, clarity, and light that no challenge can dim. Wisdom is not just about knowledge, it is about perspective. You can know many things yet remain disturbed. But a little wisdom can give you peace even in chaos. Think of wisdom as the lens through which you see the world. If your lens is dirty, everything looks blurred and confusing. But if your lens is clean, you see things for what they are. Feeding the mind with wisdom each morning is like cleaning that lens so you don't stumble through the day blindly. Imagine two people facing the same problem. One reacts immediately, gets angry, and blames everyone around. The other pauses, recalls a piece of wisdom he read that morning about patience or compassion, and responds calmly. The difference isn't in the problem, it is in what their mind was nourished with. Wisdom works like a shield, protecting you from unnecessary suffering, and like a compass, guiding you towards the right response. A powerful way to feed the mind is to read something uplifting in the morning. Even a single page from a spiritual book, an inspiring story, or a meaningful quote can be enough to spark reflection. Just as one drop of fragrance can change the smell of an entire room, one drop of wisdom can change the direction of an entire day. There are people who spend 10 minutes every morning scrolling endlessly, but if those same 10 minutes were used to absorb a timeless truth, imagine the transformation it could bring. For example, let us say you begin the day by reading about gratitude, reminding yourself that everything you have is a gift. Later in the day, when something goes wrong, instead of drowning in frustration, that morning reminder whispers to you, focus on what is still right. Or if you begin the morning reflecting on kindness, then when you face an irritating person later, the words echo within you. Be kind, not because they deserve it, but because that is who you are. The mind becomes like a garden, and whatever seed you plant in the morning grows throughout the day. If you plant seeds of fear and comparison, weeds of anxiety will spread. But if you plant seeds of wisdom, fruits of peace and joy will bloom. Think about how athletes prepare for a race. They don't just show up and start running, they warm up, stretch, and condition their bodies so they can endure. In the same way, wisdom is the warm up of the mind. Without it, we may stumble at the first challenge. With it, we are prepared to run with grace, no matter how long the track. Life is not always fair, but wisdom reminds us that life is always teaching. It helps us see beyond the surface. Even in small daily examples, wisdom makes a difference. Suppose you're stuck in traffic. One mind without wisdom will get frustrated, honk the horn, and spoil the mood for the rest of the day. Another mind, nourished by wisdom, will say, "Since I can't move the traffic, let me use this time to breathe deeply, listen to something uplifting, or simply observe calmly." The situation is the same, but the experience is entirely different. That difference is born from what we feed our mind, and wisdom is not something you gather once and keep forever. It is something you must feed daily, just like food. You don't say, "I ate last week, so I don't need to eat today." In the same way, you cannot say, "I read something wise last month, so I don't need it today." Every day, new challenges arise, new storms blow, new emotions surge. That is why the mind needs a fresh supply of wisdom daily to remain balanced and steady. When you make this a habit, mornings become sacred. They are no longer just a routine of rushing and reacting, but a time of aligning and preparing. You rise with the awareness that life is not just about surviving, but about living meaningfully. And that awareness comes only from wisdom. It is wisdom that reminds us that anger doesn't solve problems, that comparison steals joy, that patience turns weakness into strength, and that love is the highest expression of life. So, think of your morning as the time when you set the tone of your inner world. Before the world can shape you, shape yourself with wisdom. Before life throws its challenges at you, equip yourself with truth. If you feed your mind with wisdom, you will not only handle the day better, you will also inspire others. Because wisdom is not something that stays hidden. It shines through your words, your actions, and even your silence. People around you will feel it, just as they feel when someone carries negativity. In the end, it is simple. The quality of your mind shapes the quality of your life. If your mind is restless, life feels restless. If your mind is centered, life feels centered. And the easiest way to center the mind is to feed it with wisdom every morning. Just as the sun rises and spreads light, let wisdom rise in your heart and spread light through everything you do. When you begin your day with wisdom, you don't just live the day, you elevate it. And that is what makes a morning truly legendary. It is almost a habit for many of us. The very first thing we do after opening our eyes is to reach for the phone. Before we even greet the morning, we greet notifications. Before we even take a moment to thank God for life, we are checking who texted us, who liked our photo, what news is flashing on the screen. And in that instant, we have already handed our peace to the world outside. Instead of beginning the day with inner connection, we begin with outer distraction. But imagine how powerful it would be if the first conversation of your day was not with your phone, but with God. If instead of rushing to messages, you took a moment to whisper your own message to the divine. That is the essence of this point. Speak to God, not just your phone. Our devices connect us to the world, but prayer and reflection connect us to ourselves and to God. Both connections are important, but one is far deeper and more nourishing. When you begin the day speaking to God, you are reminding yourself of what really matters. You are not just checking updates, you are aligning your heart. You are saying, "Before I enter the noise of the world, let me listen to the silence of my soul." This creates a foundation of strength that no amount of scrolling can provide. Let us take a simple example. Imagine 2 mornings. In the first, you wake up, unlock your phone, and see an email about work, a post that makes you compare your life, and a message that triggers irritation. Within 5 minutes, your mood has shifted, your thoughts are scattered, and your peace is already stolen. In the second morning, you wake up, close your eyes, Breathe deeply and say, "Thank you, God, for another chance today." You spend a few moments in conversation with the divine, sharing your worries, expressing your hopes, surrendering your plans. You open your eyes calmer, lighter, and more grounded. The challenges will still come, but you will face them with a steadier heart. The difference lies in the first voice you chose to hear, the world's or God's. Speaking to God does not need to be complicated. It does not require long rituals nor specific words. It is as simple as talking to your closest friend, open, honest, without pretension. You can tell God your fears, your joys, your confusions, your gratitude. And in that act, you relieve yourself of carrying everything alone. You realize you are not walking through the day unsupported. There is a presence larger than life itself walking with you. That realization changes the way you carry yourself through challenges. Think about how many people live with stress because they bottle up emotions. They feel they cannot share their worries with anyone, but the moment you speak to God, you release that weight. Even if nothing outwardly changes, inwardly you feel lighter. There is great healing in simply speaking to the divine. Some people think prayer is only about asking for things, but true prayer is about connection. It is about remembering that we are not the doors of everything. We are participants in a greater plan. And when we speak to God, we align with that plan. Daily life gives us countless examples of how this practice works. Suppose you have a big meeting ahead and anxiety is filling your chest. You could spend the morning panicking, or you could pause for 2 minutes and say, "God, give me clarity. Help me speak with calmness. Guide me to do my best." Immediately your energy changes. The situation is the same, but you walk into it with more strength. Or imagine you are feeling lonely. Instead of diving into social media to fill the emptiness, you sit silently and whisper, "God, I know you are here with me." Suddenly, the loneliness feels softer, the silence feels warmer, and you remember you are never truly alone. Even gratitude becomes deeper when spoken to God, saying, "Thank you," in your mind is powerful, but saying it directly to the divine makes it personal. You are acknowledging the source of all that sustains you. When you tell God, "Thank you for this day, this breath, this life," it transforms gratitude from an idea into a relationship. It is no longer just about counting blessings, it is about honoring the giver of blessings. Many people may say, "But I don't hear God reply when I speak." The reply does not always come in words. It comes in feelings, in signs, in unexpected calmness. Sometimes you may speak to God about a difficulty, and later that day you notice someone giving you the exact encouragement you needed. Or you may feel a sudden wave of peace washing over your worry. That is God's way of answering. We need not measure prayer by immediate results. The very act of speaking is itself the result. It connects us, it grounds us, it centers us. My friends, the truth is, our phones will always wait for us. Notifications are endless, but God's whispers are subtle. If we don't make space for them, we miss them. Starting your day with the phone trains the mind to look outward. Starting your day with God trains the soul to look inward. And a day built on inner connection is far more powerful than one built on outer distraction. So tomorrow morning, resist the urge to rush to your phone. Let your first words be not to a screen but to the divine. Speak honestly, even if it is just a few sentences. Say thank you, share your plans, surrender your fears. Let your first conversation be sacred, not superficial. Because when you speak to God first, you carry His presence with you into every conversation that follows. And that presence will make your day not just ordinary, but extraordinary, filled with peace, guided by wisdom, and touched with the grace that comes only from starting with the right connection. Our body is not just flesh and bones, it is the sacred temple in which the soul resides. We often forget this truth and treat the body as though it is a machine that can run endlessly without care. But the way we treat our body deeply affects the way we think, feel, and even connect with God. That is why beginning the morning with some form of movement is so important. Moving the body is not merely about exercise, it is about moving the energy that has been dormant during sleep. It is about awakening the physical temple so that the mind and spirit can also shine. Think about it. When you wake up after hours of rest, your body has been still for a long time. Energy has settled, muscles are stiff, blood circulation is slower. If you immediately dive into tasks without awakening the body, you carry sluggishness into your day. But if you take even 10 minutes to stretch, walk, breathe deeply, or do yoga, you shake off that heaviness. You awaken the inner fire. You tell your body, today is a new day, and I am ready to live it with vitality. Movement in the morning is like turning the key in an engine. Without it, the car may start slowly with strain. With it, the engine roars smoothly and powerfully. But it is not just physical. Movement connects to energy. When you move consciously, you release stagnant emotions stored in the body. Have you noticed how sometimes when you feel stressed, just a short walk makes you calmer? That is because movement allows emotions to flow instead of being trapped inside. The body and mind are not separate, they are partners. A tired body makes the mind dull. An energized body makes the mind sharp. This is why ancient traditions always emphasize movement practices in the morning, not as a physical routine alone, but as a spiritual one. Let us consider a daily life example. Two people wake up. The first one rushes straight into the shower, grabs breakfast in a hurry, and sits down to work. By noon, he feels drained, irritated, and restless. The second spends the first 15 minutes stretching, doing a few rounds of deep breathing, and maybe a brisk walk around the block. By noon, he feels alive, centered, and alert. What is the difference? The tasks may be the same, but the energy with which they are approached is completely different. And energy, more than time, determines the quality of life. Movement also teaches discipline. When you move your body in the morning, even on days you don't feel like it, you remind yourself that growth is not about comfort. It is about consistency. Just as a river carves valleys not by force, but by persistence, small daily movements carve strength and resilience into your being. And that discipline flows into every other part of your day. When you can discipline your body in the morning, you can discipline your thoughts at work, your emotions in relationships, and your responses in challenges. It is also a way of showing respect to the gift God has given you, your body. Too often, people abuse their bodies by neglect, by poor habits, or by constant stress. But when you move in the morning with awareness, it is like bowing in reverence to the temple you have been blessed with. You are saying, "Thank you, God, for this body. I will care for it, strengthen it, and honor it." That shift in perspective transforms exercise from a chore into a spiritual practice. There is also something deeply symbolic about morning movement. The rising sun, the awakening of nature, the fresh air. All these elements align with the body's awakening. When you move in the morning, you move with the rhythm of nature itself. Birds do not stay in their nests after dawn. They fly, they sing, they stretch their wings. In the same way, when we rise with the sun and move, we are aligning our lives with the universal rhythm. And alignment with nature always brings peace and vitality. Consider how children naturally wake up and move. They jump, they run, they stretch, they cannot sit still. Their energy is abundant because their movement is natural. But as adults, we forget this playfulness. We become stiff not only in body, but also in spirit. Morning movement helps us reclaim